Human beings have the capacity to be both imitators and modifiers. We take things and we craft them and we restore them and renew them and repurpose them. And I hope this morning, with the idea of Halloween and this season of the year, I'll offer some demonstration of that with the ideas I want to share with you. The background of Halloween is pretty well generally known. The high points are that comes from the earth religions of Northern Europe. So much of what we have in America, so much of the traditions come from that part of the world because the predominant exploring and colonizing people were from there. But the idea of the Celtic people of old was the notion of the ending of the harvest season, the end of summer, and the beginning of the darker nights, longer nights, culminating in the winter solstice. And Samhain, the last day of October, moving into the first 4 days of November, was an acknowledgement of that transitional time, an opportunity to celebrate the harvest, to renew the notion of family, to celebrate community. But also being superstitious folks, like our ancestors were. Thank goodness we don't have that problem today. They did believe, with some sense of mental health probably, that those who had died in the last year and those all that had died sort of came back around on that night, which became known as All Hallows Eve, the night of the eve before Samhain began on November 1. And these spirits moved through their neighborhoods and moved through their homes and moved through their environments one more time, either to maybe say goodbye or to settle a score or be about whatever mischief might be there. We're creative people. We're able to conjure a story that will serve our purposes. So if we wonder about what to do with grief, if we look at the mystery of death, as we look at the cycles of the seasons, our ancestors created stories. Stories about this mystery called the hereafter. The idea of ghosts, the idea of spirits, the idea of influences that remain in place even after the event happened, even after the life has ended. The idea of ghosts prevail in our culture and are part of our understanding of life. But maybe it's not all, it's not all fiction. Maybe it's not all superstition. Maybe there's something we can reclaim from this notion of influences coming and haunting our lives, coming around one more time, or many more times. Consider for a few moments the idea that we are shaped and influenced by impressions, things past. How our father treated us, how our mother treated us, how we did in school, what age we were with our siblings, where we were in the picking order. Were we the oldest? Were we the youngest? Were we the middle? Science and education and exploration has taught us a lot about those influences. And those influences are patterns on ourselves that come and influence us forever. And sometimes they can feel like ghosts. Sometimes they can feel like curses. Sometimes they can feel like hauntings of our lives by these events that happen, because they're not always good. How many of you remember how scary it was in school that first time that you experienced real embarrassment? You know, red from here all the way down to your socks. Those type of experiences impact us. And how about somebody you was sweet on in the 6th grade that they didn't have time for you? Embarrassing moments, situations that we put ourselves in, that life presents to us, and we engage it, and we come away somewhat affected. We're hurt. We're shamed. We're saddened by our experience. We're overwhelmed. We're lost by it. Well, those are the kind of ghosts I want us to consider this morning. I want you to lift up, remember in your mind, write them down when you get home, 10 of the worst mistakes in your whole life. Think about that. Can you imagine registering the 10 worst mistakes in your life and really looking at them on a piece of paper? That would be some scary stuff. Well, that's some ghosts I want to talk about. Because if you can write them down, you can remember them. And if you can remember them, they're still there in your consciousness. And they impact you and infect you and shape who you are and how you engage with the world. Well, in the spiritual life, there's a thing that we hope happens, and that's transformation. That's changing. That's learning. That's creating a new sense of self, looking at, examining those mistakes we've made. Traditional classical religion calls it sin. Hitting off the mark, living life wrongly or out of balance. Well, maybe our situation is not so much actions, commissions that we do, but just the circumstances that we get involved in our lives. We get at the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people, and we come up wounded. Wouldn't it be great if you just walked around and all the emotional scars that you'd ever had showed on your face? Would that be a scary thing? I imagine most of us in this room would be black and blue with a lot of whelps, a lot of scars. Well, that's what these ghosts are about I'm speaking of. These emotional hauntings that still hold on to us. We move into life trying to do the best we can. We look at the children that come through us and we go, how in the world do these mysteries come about? What are they all about? I don't care how old are you in this room. Your magic and your mystery with your children has to be a real wonderful thing for you. And also on the other side of that, the other side, the dark side, the shadow side, you can lift up, and I know I do too often, the mistakes I made and things I did not do out of omission. So here we are as human beings in the 21st century, celebrating a holiday that is the most expensive, the second most expensive in the United States. $6 billion will be spent this next weekend on the stuff of Halloween. Well, that's one economic fact. What does it mean to the culture? What does it mean to people individually? Is it just an excuse to have a party? Is it just an excuse to go into the woods and get scared? I know there's opportunities for kids to have joy, have candy, and have fun and imagination. It's to imagine ourselves something else. To look beyond who we are, to see ourselves disguised and in a fantasy world for a while. Well, maybe that's what we can do with these ghosts that still possess us. This baggage we still carry. These scars that are on our souls from the past that have bring us down and limit our freedom and limit our experimentation and our involvement with others. Because it cautions us. We don't want to be embarrassed again. We don't want to be hurt again. We don't want our love rejected again. We don't want to be left out. We do not want to be alone. And so much of life has taught us by our own complicity or by meanness of other people that you got to earn a place here. Unitarian Universalist says, come on in with all your scars, with all your bruises, with all your doubts, with all your wonderings, and be at home here. And we will lift them up and we will share them with one another, and we'll figure out how we can learn from these experiences. How do we overcome the power of ghosts? The ghosts who carry us, who we possess in our dreams and we possess in our acknowledgments of one another sometimes. They really can be burdens on us. They can really affect us. The thing to do is to engage them honestly. I made a mistake there. I was not awake on that. I was not listening. I was utterly distracted. The life of the Spirit is about engaging those mistakes, those shortcomings, those bad choices, and to learn from them. Their acknowledgement that we have the possibility to grow past them. And the best part of Halloween, the best part of our seasonal celebrations is it's not a straight line. It's a cycle. It's a spiral. And it comes back around. And we learn as we go. Every day we have an opportunity to relive that last day and to look at things a little bit differently and a little bit more wisely. What's it taught us? Well, kindness will go farther than being short and mean to people. You know, it's all the basics. You all know them. I don't have to count them to you. If you be considerate, most people will be thoughtful back to you. Sometimes it wouldn't be. I was sitting at CVS yesterday getting a prescription filled, and over the other side there was a fellow getting prescription. I couldn't see him, which was a good thing because I would have sort of given him hurtful looks. So I just did hurtful looks through his opaque windows. But he was literally cussing the person out about the price of his drugs. And he wouldn't relent. It just got troublesome. And he was polluting my air and My Doak side wanted to go, would you shut up, you hothead? You're bothering me. And my other side went into this thing of, what in the world, what is his problem? It's a decent car. Is it? And I got it figured out. And I got it figured out about Halloween too. It's a sense of helplessness we have. We need drugs, we need this, we need that, and we are at mercy of those who are ever selling it, the products people have. We're at the mercy of others who we want to love us. We are in a vulnerable situation. And Halloween expresses that better than anything in the world, because it shows the reality of death, the reality of change, of crops, of cycles, of animals, of rebirth and death. Our vulnerability makes possible celebrations of Halloween, celebrations of Easter, celebration of occasions when we can renew a hope. Because when we know from our human history that when we go into these longer days, these shorter days, these longer nights, and we get through winter solstice, and then the days start getting longer again, and that old sun's going to come back. And we see a model in creation that says there's hope out there. Your job is to endure the winter. Your job is to endure your loneliness. Your job is to learn creative ways to be engaged again when life shuts you out. When you're trapped in your cabin, when you're trapped in your apartment, when you're trapped with your ghost, to break loose. So maybe the challenge we have as human beings any time of day or night is to say, I'm better than my fears. I'm stronger than my fears. My courage will get me through this, and I will risk something. I will risk being a human being engaged, expecting nothing from that except to do things a little differently. If we go about the same way every day saying, well, they don't like me, this doesn't work, I can't believe this crap, get out of my way. If we go through with that reality as a way to be in the world, we'll get back what we put out. Halloween is an opportunity for us to possess the ghost, to change them and turn them around and turn them nearly into angels, to say, you're going to teach me something here. You're going to teach me how silly it is to be embarrassed and to be hurt by something happened 40 years ago that no one else cares about but me. It still hurts. It only hurts because you bring it up. Fill your life up with something else. Confession, eating till we can't see anymore, drinking till we can't see anymore, bring it up. The Native American people had a great notion. They had black drink. Just make you sick as a dog and you'd vomit for 3 days. That'll cleanse you out. What is it going to take for us to cleanse our souls out, our spirits out of that old junk? I think it can just take us laughing and saying to the ghost, get away. I'm claiming a new leader. I'm going with a new frame of reference. I'm not going to be there anymore. So when I sit in a line and when I see people acting out that are inappropriate, that makes me mad, that wants me to be the mean fellow in my life, I'll try to transition over to say, wait a minute, what's that person saying about their life, about their needs, and about me? They're demonstrating to me what I don't want to be with my life. And they're saying to me, this is what happens when you don't recognize the fact that you can be better than you're demonstrating. Our children challenge us, our mates challenge us, our partners challenge us, the life of we got an election coming. Can you see anything good coming out of November elections? Yes. Good, I'm glad. You got my point. If we dwell on the fact that the bucket is always half empty, we'll miss the half full part. And we're just a little thirsty. We're not whole thirsty. Unitarian Universalist is an engagement with ideas that can redeem and bless us. The idea of us transforming, overcoming, transcending the hurts and the scars of our souls is what it's about. It's not done by magic. It's not done by divine force. It's done by us being desperate enough and courageous enough to claim it, to say with a good heart and a good spirit, I'm going to try things differently. I'm going to be kinder. I'm going to get out of my ego. I'm going to see if another person can just see me as I am. I'm going to see what a smile will do. And when I say this, it sounds so cheap and silly, given the plights of the world. But we've got to begin with that. Because I'll tell you this, rules never make it. Only the loving heart learning the rules of what really applies. So trick or treat on Halloween, give out some good sweets, get the kids good and sick. Do not be someone who rations kids. Kids need to be sick about 3 Halloweens to learn. Now think about that. That's not so silly, is it? Go with love and light, and may we learn that the ghosts are our gifts if we want to convert them and bring them in to be about what they can be, agents of good and learning that can help us transform our lives. Amen. I short-sheeted you today, didn't I? I didn't talk long enough. It just felt like it to me. Yeah, sometimes you get a home run, sometimes you get a single, sometimes you just get a bat. Thank you for being this congregation. You mean a lot to one another, and you mean a lot to those who come through our door. We do a lot of anxiety and a lot of anxious discussion about how we can't be everything to all people, and we worry about folks who come a while and don't come back, and we don't know why, and we try to figure out ways for that. If we demonstrate our principles through word and action, if we be a welcoming, loving group, we will find the people who need us. And I would invite us to be less concerned about the ghost of what you ought to be and celebrate what you are. The money is good right now. The attendance is wonderful. We've got energy all around this place. And y'all are the reasons for that. So give yourself a good thank you and let us be about more of it. Go now in peace and in love.